Killer create vibes now.
Welcome to another episode of the Get a Love Like Mine podcast. We are your humble hosts. I'm Keisha Amos. This is my beautiful husband, Sam Amos. I believe this is episode 15. Can't believe we have made it this far. We thank you guys so much for listening, for giving us feedback, for engaging with us. We just thank you. We're grateful. We pray that God gets the glory for all that we're doing. Today, we're going to talk about being crazy in love. So, to get started, how do you define crazy? What's crazy to you when you see a woman? What does she have to do for you to say, oh, she's crazy?
I've heard so many people called crazy over the years. That's why this is one of my most favorite topics, because it's funny. You can have fun with it, but you can also learn from it. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I guess, for starters, someone that stalks you can definitely be categorized as crazy. Mm-hmm. Thinking patterns, people that just don't think like normal, everyday thinking. Mm-hmm. I don't know, folks that just take something minor and just go way left with it. And it wasn't even a situation to begin with, but it is now. I mean, I could go on and on. So many details. I heard, just sitting there talking, I remember back when I was dating, I was getting to know this lady, or this young lady, and her phone rang. So she's answering, she's talking to someone that's like I don't know if it was a family member or not, but whatever it was, the subject was some guy that was somewhere he wasn't supposed to be. Mm-hmm. And the person that was making the call was there where he was because she saw his car. Mm-hmm. So the chick that I'm there to see told her, ooh, put a Snickers bar in his gas tank. Let me hit you back. I got to go. Wow, but I had never heard of that before. But it threw me for a loop to think. You that to me that's crazy.
Okay, so I agree that all of that is crazy, but from a woman's perspective, what's crazy about a man? Those same things, because men do those same things. Stalking. To me, if you call my phone and I don't answer, and then you call back 30 times, or you're leaving messages,
like 30 messages.
Yes, you're leaving 30 messages. Like, that's crazy. This episode, I'm going to talk about this same ex-boyfriend a lot. We used to date so many years ago that we didn't have cell phones. All we had was pagers. And when he was mad, he would send me a page 666. That means I am so mad at you right now.
The devil's coming out of
you better call me, because the devil about to come out. And I would have to find a payphone and call this man back, because 666 had me freaked out.
That was beyond emergency, huh?
Yeah. It's like, I already paged you my number. I already paged you, different numbers, because I'm trying to see if you'll call back a different number than mine, and you're not calling none of them back. 666, and it's me. Showing up where you are when you didn't tell them where you were. I guess that's stalking. What else would I consider? I have to think back over my life, all the crazy people I done been with. We'll get into it, but those are the crazy things. But sometimes, like, I heard you say something about stalking. Sometimes stalking to me is not really stalking. Like, sometimes you lied to me and told me you were one place, and so I followed you to see if you were really where you were. Do you still consider that stalking, or is that more investigating? Because I consider that investigating.
Hey, it can be categorized as either one.
But I know if you saw me, you would say, she's stalking me. But in actuality, I'm just verifying that you were where you said you were.
Make a wellness check.
Yeah. So sometimes you got to be careful who you call crazy, because sometimes crazy is smart. I'm not being crazy, I'm being smart. I'm trying to figure out if you are where you said you were, or, whatever. But me, I remember, like, I would say by the time I was 25, I had, I'm gonna go before 25. By the time I was 23, I had 3 major relationships. Like, I had one from 9th grade to 12th grade, then 12th grade, we dated the end of 12th grade for 1 year, and then the next guy we dated for 3 years. And all 3 of them were crazy. All 3 of them. All 3 of them Capricorns, I might add. But one of my best friends, who was a guy, my play brother, would tell me, those guys were not crazy when you got with them. You made them crazy. You drove them crazy with the things you do. And so it really wasn't until I got to be in my 30s that I realized I was driving them crazy. I was doing little things that I know if they were doing them would make me crazy. So, sometimes you have to be careful that you bring that out of people.
Right. This is one of the things that I would hope everyone, relationship-wise, would learn, that everything or everybody's not meant for everybody. Mm-hmm. We're on the subject of crazy people. Everyone has the potential to act crazy, right?
I agree.
I can act crazy with you, you can act crazy with me. Mm-hmm. So you may hear, let's just take one of your ex-boyfriends may look at me and be like, well, he don't know. But she crazy. Yeah. And so we go on about our business, and I never see the crazy side of you. Mm-hmm. Well, everyone has the potential to be crazy, but the question is, are you going to bring that out of that person? What do you bring out of them? Mm-hmm. So if I'm seeing the crazy in you often, maybe that's what I pull out of you. Now, I'm not trying to give crazy people a pass, because we definitely have seen people that were just wake up crazy.
Unprovoked.
Right. Going around serial killing people and then chopping them up and eating them. Okay, that person's crazy. But like you say, if this person wasn't crazy like that when you met him, mm-hmm. then you say, oh, well, maybe he was hiding it. Maybe. Or just maybe the things you do brings that out of them. So you may be dating someone that's really not that compatible for you. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. I think one of the things that I did that made people crazy, like I said, I talked about it in the last week, was the harmless flirting. I might pull up to the street corner and it's a homeless man out there, and I roll the window down and give him some money and tell him, have a good day, handsome. Well, with my boyfriend in the car, he might be like, what are you doing? So it was the harmless flirting, things that I wouldn't have thought, because I knew I didn't really like the person, but that harmless flirting could drive somebody crazy that wasn't necessarily crazy. It's just the constant being insecure, having anxiety about, being hurt. Once somebody's hurt, and they get in their next relationship, their guard is already up. Like, what is she or he gonna do that's gonna hurt me? So if you're doing things that are reminiscent of what that first person did or that last person did, then sometimes it can just make a person crazy.
And along those lines, you just made me think of something else. I had a coworker that he was married twice. Mm-hmm. He's still married to the second wife now. Well, the first wife, that didn't work out. They were together for a very long time, had kids together. And then she ended up, finding interest in another man. Mm-hmm. Well, when he got with the second wife, I would get on him all the time because he was forever bringing up first wife stories as if the second wife, well, what if she does this? What if she does just like the first one? I would have to remind him, well, okay, for starters, you didn't marry the same person twice. This is a completely different person. Mm-hmm. And it's not fair to her that you're putting your old wife's baggage on her back. Mm-hmm. You're accusing her of things, and she has no idea that these thoughts are going on in your head, that what if she? Well, you can say, what if the sky falls in? Or, what if? We could what if all day. But my point is, you can't hold her captive for something that the other wife did.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes people hold people captive for what they're doing.
True.
If you get what I'm saying. Sometimes when you're cheating, you think, well, I am capable of all this, and I have lied and got away with all this stuff.
But
she literally could be lying and getting away with all this same stuff. Or he literally could have been, when he told me he was at work, he could have been somewhere else, and you'll drive your own self crazy.
And I'm that one guy that will tell my coworkers that when they think they're getting away willy-nilly. Mm-hmm. And I said, well, what if your wife is doing the same thing? And they get quiet. Oh, my wife, okay, all right, I'm just saying, don't dish it out.
If you can't take
it. If you can't take it, that's right.
Yeah. I think an important thing to do when you're dealing with crazy people or crazy partners is to learn your partner. My husband says this all the time. You really should be learning this person as you guys are dating. If you don't date long and you get married early in your marriage, you should be learning all sorts of things about your partner. I had this conversation at work yesterday about not knowing how a person acts when they are angry, when they're sad, when they're broke, when they're hungry. Like all of these different emotions, you should experience your partner in every season, just so that you learn them and learn their red flags, because sometimes you might be able to see, oh, this man is crazy.
And just recently, you shared that same thing with one of our daughters. Mm-hmm. That she's newly dating. Mm-hmm. She's very, very excited about the dating. Do y'all like him? Well,
we don't know him. I keep telling her I don't know him that well.
But what did she say? She said something like, "I hope we're together forever." Or
yeah, everybody thinks that when you're 18, you want to meet your Prince Charming, and we just gonna live happily ever after. This is gonna be the only man I'm ever with, and I'm looking at her like, you haven't even known him long enough.
Don't put your stock in that one, right?
Yeah, you have to learn him. You have to see him at his worst to know if you can deal with him at that point.
Adversity, for sure. You get laid off on the job, or you get into it with a supervisor at work. Are you going back with a pipe bomb? And I never would have seen that. Well, you didn't get to know him.
Yeah.
So how does this person act when you? Crazy people act crazy if you eat off their plate. You know what I'm saying? Who drank all the milk? Oh!
And he just walk up to you and just pour the gallon with the rest of the milk. Hit you in the head with an empty milk.
Since you want all the milk, here it is.
Yeah, that's crazy. So I think you really should take the time to get to know your partner and listen to them. Listen to how they react to situations that don't have anything to do with you. If he gets into it with his sister, and then next thing you know, he just going upside his sister's head. Now, he's never hit you, but you looking at him hit on his sister, you have to think, oh, he crazy. Or they whole family crazy, because the sister might be right back in his face the next day. So, you just need to look at those things and see, how your partner is responding to all these situations. And what if your partner is making you crazy? Has a girl Has a girl ever made you crazy?
I'm gonna have to say yes. Now, I don't have a story like queued up off the top of my head.
I do, but I'll let you.
But I don't remember anything that was just like.
Well, let me tell my stories, and maybe it'll make you refresh, because I have two. First is the boyfriend who I told you I'm going to talk about him a lot, because I started dating him when I was 18, about to turn 19, and again, I thought he was the love of my life. I thought I was going to be with him forever. Just like my daughter is now. That's why I'm telling her, just slow things down. But anyway, one day, he used to like to hang out a lot. He didn't want me to hang out, but he liked to hang out a lot. So one day, he had told me he was going to like hang out at the park or something. And I was like, no, I don't want you to go. And he hung up in my face. So I drove to his house. Now, mind you, him, his mom, and his sister, they were all living with his grandmother. So it's 3 generations of people living in this house. And I went over there to act crazy. And I pull up, and there's no cars in the driveway. I knock on the door, and this was a house, an older house, so the door had a little diamond-shaped window in it. And I saw the curtain move. So I'm like, oh, somebody is looking out. So I'm knocking even harder at this man's grandmother's house. I'm just, open the door. Nobody ever opens the door. So I'm like, okay, well, he may not be here now, but he got to come back because he lived here. So I'm parked out front. I'm on the phone with my cousin, and she's telling me that her boyfriend lives not far, so she's going to send him over to just be with me to make sure, nothing bad happens. Now, I left this part out. There's a car parked in front of the house that I've never seen before. It's got a car seat in it, and it's got a Mickey Mouse hanging from the rearview mirror. So I'm like, this has got to be a girl's car. This is not a boy's car. So I parked behind that car, and I'm just sitting there waiting. So my cousin's boyfriend comes over. All of a sudden, this girl, me and him are sitting out there talking. Of course, he probably thinks I am insane because I'm sitting at this man's grandmother's house. But he didn't say anything, That's
accurate assessment.
Yeah, he's just hanging out. So then this girl walks up to the car. She got on really short shorts. She got on long poetic justice braids. She doesn't have a baby with her, but she walks up to get in the car. So I walk up on her. I'm like, which one of these houses did you just come from? Because I didn't see her come out of any door. She just appeared on the sidewalk. So I said, which one of these houses did you just come from? So she points to the house next door. But my cousin's boyfriend recognizes her. And he was like, hey, what's up, such and such? I'm not going to say her name. He was like, hey, what's up, such and such? And she was like, hey, looking all scared and nervous. So she gets in the car and drives off. So then I'm like, okay, well, the car is gone. So I tell him, well, nobody's here. Nobody's come out. This car is gone. So I'm just going to assume nobody's here. I'm just going to go home. So I go on and go home. It had to be about, well, let me back up. When I talked to my boyfriend later on that day, I told him what I did. And he was, oh man, you crazy. I can't believe you did that. You crazy. We cracking jokes about it. It had to be a year or two later. He and I were no longer together. But he ended up at a party with my cousin's boyfriend, who they were no longer together either. But they ended up at the same party. Now, they had never seen each other because, like I said, when the boyfriend was there with me, when my cousin's boyfriend was there with me, my boyfriend never came outside. So he never knew what he looked like or anything. So they're at a party together, and my ex-boyfriend is telling the story about his crazy ex-girlfriend who came and beat on his door while he had another girl in the house. And so, because he told that girl that I was crazy and I was going to beat her up if she went out the front door, he made her climb out the window. And that's why she came from the other side of the house and just appeared on the sidewalk, because she had climbed out the window. So, my cousin's ex-boyfriend hears the story and knows, because he knew the girl and knew I was the crazy ex-girlfriend. So then he calls my cousin, like, I don't know how long it had been since they broke up, but he calls her and tells her, man, I met such and such, and he was talking about your cousin, blah, blah, blah. Man, I'm telling you, me and him had been broke up. I called him and cursed him out. Like, I can't believe you made a fool out of me like that, and you making it sound like I'm crazy, and all alone, you was in there with this girl. But that's story number one of me being crazy. Story number two of me being crazy. This is a story about you that you've never heard. I don't even remember why I doubted your sincerity of what you said. But it was a day that we used to work together, by the way. It was a day that you had to work that I didn't have to work. I went and swapped cars with one of my friends' friends. So it was a car you did not know. And I parked under the bridge, got a blanket and put it over my head so that nobody else would recognize me either, because other, of our coworkers might have drove by and saw me. So I put a blanket over my head and followed you when you got off work to see where you going.
And where did I go?
I don't know, because I lost you. Almost immediately lost you. And after the fact, I was like, I am crazy. I am looking like an idiot out here driving with this blanket over my head. I literally took a picture of myself with the blanket over my head and sent it to my friend whose friend's car I was in, and said, look how crazy I am sitting up following this man. And I don't even know where he went, because I had sat out there for at least 30 minutes waiting on you to come outside, and I lost you within the first 3 minutes of you leaving the job. But you had done drove me crazy. Anyway, those are my crazy stories.
Oh, wow.
Did those stories refresh a story that made you crazy?
Well, if you did, I definitely want to edit and take out that second one. But I remember, I guess this qualifies as crazy. I was dating this young lady, and we were in church together. Mm-hmm. Right, we went to church together. And it was Mother's Day. So, of course, my mom at the time was still alive. Mm-hmm. And hers was too. Mm-hmm. So, this was the question I asked. This is after church, right? We stand around talking. So I asked her, the deal was I played in a basketball league at the time, and we played on Sundays. Mm-hmm. So I had a game that day. So I was going to go to my game, right? Mm-hmm. And so I asked her, was she going to spend Mother's Day with her mom with the rest of her brothers and sisters? And she immediately took that as me trying to get rid of her. And she went off on me in the parking lot at church. So now we drove together.
Oh no.
Yeah, we rode in the car together. So I'm riding home, taking her, I'm going to drop her off at her house. And boy, she is going in on me. Boy, she is really angry that in her mind I'm trying to shovel her off on her mom for Mother's Day instead of coming to my game. And I ended up having to cuss her out right there after. I threatened to put her out of the car and she just wouldn't stop. Like, I just asked you one question. So to me that was just insane. All you had to do was say, I really wanted her to go spend time with her mom, because like, moms are special. Mm-hmm. Mother's Day only comes once a year, and what does it look like you going to a YMCA basketball game on Mother's Day when everyone else is going out to eat with mom?
Right.
But she, I don't even remember what she ended up doing. I don't think she went with them to go eat. I think
she probably was in the gym huffing and puffing with her arms
with the blanket over.
She had a blanket over here standing under the bleachers, making sure you was actually playing basketball.
Man, I tell you. So I don't know if that qualifies as she's crazy or she's driving me crazy.
No, that's her crazy.
Like, my goodness. But yeah, I have a lot of little stories like that, I'm sure, along the way that I never made sense out of them even to this day.
So how did you and her end up breaking up? Or let me back up. What did she was she crazy a lot? Like, did you have a lot of crazy stories with her? Or was that just the one?
I don't know about it may not have been a lot. But there were some where I guess her temper was short, or she would take things the wrong way. And back then, when you're young, like we were, when you're young, they don't take much to argue. Mm-hmm. Either you disagree or misunderstand, whatever it is, but argument ensues. And she stayed probably less than 5 minutes from my house. Mm-hmm. Right? She lived with her mom, and I lived by myself. I had my own house. And so we could argue on the phone. You gotta see where this is going, right? Mm-hmm. We could argue on the phone, and I would try, once I got off the phone, I need to get my shoes on and get out of here because I know she's gonna come and wants to argue here. Mm-hmm. I don't want to hear that anymore. But before I could get out the door and get in my truck, she had already blocked me in. That's how quick she would get to my house. Like, oh my goodness, I don't know how you do it. And there, like you said, there was no cell phone.
Right.
Yeah, she would hang the house phone up, bang, and she was there before I could get out of there. I mean, she did that like, I don't know, a dozen times. Like, I was racing to get out of there, and I never did. I never left for that one time. Is that crazy?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's her crazy. But I know somebody that drove you crazy.
I don't recall me ever. I don't know. I'm sure I've probably done things I had no business doing.
you blocked them out.
I don't. Maybe not even that. I don't remember. I try to.
So how did you and that girl break up? How do you get rid of crazy? Is the thing I'm getting at.
Okay, this is my favorite part of the show. Everybody wants to know, hey, everyone's dated someone that they can classify as crazy. Mm-hmm. How do I get out of crazy? Here's the answer. Everybody turn your TV up. This is how you get out of crazy. You don't. You know why? Because you should have never got in it. Yeah, you go. That's right. There's the answer. So it goes all the way back to the beginning of this episode. We say, look, spend time learning who this person is, how they act when they get fired. They may not get fired, how they act when... I've had friends, I've had family members that could argue with you over a cartoon for an hour. That's not normal. Learn that about this person. Mm-hmm. This person may be a debate artist, and you may be the most laid-back person ever. And something as simple as, do you want pickles on your burger? Set them off. They may argue with you for over an hour, and then when you wake up tomorrow, they're saying, well, you gonna put pickles on my breakfast sandwich? These are the things you need to know about this person. So, if you take the time and learn it, and still go through with it, don't be calling me asking how do I get out of this. No, the signs were there and you went on with it anyway. I just had to have him. He had another chick that was, putting pressure on her. I can't, now I'm in battle, I'm in competition with her. I can't let her win. Never mind, he's crazy. We'll deal with that, a little later down the road. But hey, if you're in a relationship and you learn that this person's crazy, you don't realize how much of that is really your own fault.
Not all of it is your own fault. Sometimes they are just crazy.
Right.
So I'm going to tell you how I think is the best way to get out of a crazy relationship. With crazy people, it's hard for them to accept rejection. So if you're going to find yourself breaking up and getting back together, breaking up and getting back together, you're going to break up and then they're going to come to you and say, oh, I was wrong. I should have never did that. I'm sorry. It'll never happen again. And you'll get back together and it'll happen again. That's how being in a relationship with a crazy person works. Either that or they really do come and kill you or beat you, or you have to go in witness protection because they are really, really crazy. But the best way to end that relationship is to cut ties completely. You know, I know a lot of people that say, oh, I'm still friends with my ex. I'm not friends with none of my exes. You know why? Because they was all crazy. You cannot be friends with somebody that was crazy when y'all were together. Crazy in love? Oh, no. So my high school boyfriend, we were together from 9th grade to 12th grade, was crazy. Like, when I started college, the first day of school was my birthday. He and I had broke up like December the year before. My birthday is in August. So this is a full 8 months later. I'm not talking to him. I think cell phones might have, or maybe I had just gotten my first cell phone, so he didn't have my number. But he used to know I liked Werther's Originals candy. My first day of school, I am coming out of the house to go to school. I walk outside and on the porch is a bag of Werther's Originals. No note, no nothing. This is just him, crazy. Because I wouldn't answer the phone for him, wouldn't talk to him, nothing. Maybe about a year later, we had some mutual friends. They told me that he had been diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. Now, he's young, like we are 19. And I didn't know what, I had never met a person who had it, didn't know what it did to you or whatever. They said he had gone blind. He was in the hospital. So I'm like, thinking, I feel so bad for him. I'll go see him in the hospital. I go see him in the hospital. Biggest mistake I ever made, because you have to cut ties with crazy. He was blind in one eye. One side, whatever side that he was blind on, that side was, he could walk, but it was like very numb, I would say. I get to telling him, I see that he's okay, but I can also see the crazy flaring up in his face. So I'm like, okay, I gotta go. So I go to leave. This man is in the hospital, followed me to the parking lot. Now, mind you, I got a new car, so he doesn't know what kind of car I drive, and I don't want him to know what kind of car I drive. But he's walking through the hospital walls like there was literally a bridge that you walk over to get from the hospital to the parking garage. He all on the bridge bumping into the stuff because he can't see out of this eye. Like, after that, I was like, okay, I don't care what happens to him. I can't be nice to this person. I have to cut this person off. Years later, my play brother, who was our mutual friend, passed away. He committed suicide. I go to the funeral, not even thinking that this guy is going to be there, but he was. He walked right up, and I'm saying this had to be at least 15 years, maybe not, maybe 10, between 10 and 12 years later. We hadn't seen each other. He walked right up to me. Hey, how you doing? I'm like, oh my God. All right, it's time to go. I had to go because you cannot be friends with crazy. You have to cut ties. Then I had another guy. I won't call him my ex, but we were talking. But I could see the red flags almost immediately. And one day I was kind of cutting him off, and I told him, I don't want to pursue this. We weren't really together, so I didn't think it was gonna be a big deal to say I don't want to talk to you no more. Well, I tell him that, and like you said, the girlfriend pulled up at your house within 5 minutes. It was probably 15 minutes that he pulled up to my house, and he did not live 15 minutes away. He lived farther than that. But he knocks on the door and no one was home but me and my daughter. I'm like, what are you doing here? And when he came, he said, "Oh, well, hold on, let me go back to the truck because I left my window down and my gun is on the seat." Your gun? You was coming over here to kill me? Like, why are you riding around with your gun on the seat for easy access? So to me cutting him off was the best thing I could have done. And after that, I didn't talk to him anymore. And like after he left, and I knew he was at home, and he was like, you know, I'm like, that right there, that's crazy. You might have killed me in front of my daughter. So from here on out, I don't want nothing to do with you. So breaking up with crazy, you got to cut ties completely.
We gonna get you some counselor. We need a counselor to come for this session. God dog.
Yeah, I've dealt with some crazy.
I see.
And I've had people to drive me crazy, even though that guy didn't drive me crazy. But obviously, I drove him crazy, and we weren't even together. I think he was crazy for real. So even years later, because he stopped speaking to me, like he wouldn't even speak to me after that. But I saw him somewhere, and the first thing he said was, "You don't have an inkling of how much you hurt me." And I'm like, "Oh Lord, it's time to go." It's time to go. We weren't even together. What are you talking about?
Security?
Oh yeah.
So when we come up with the name of this podcast, Get a Love Like Mine, a lot of that we want you to find someone that, number one, they don't drive you crazy. Mm-hmm. Number two, you don't drive them crazy. See, you want to coexist peacefully, but just realize that one or the other or both is not a healthy relationship. So look at the signs in your own relationship. Am I driving this person crazy? You know, you think, because I hear this all the time. When people ask, well, you know, why are y'all even together? Why are you still hanging around? And it'll come out, well, he wasn't like this when I first, or she didn't act like this in the beginning. Well, it's possible that it's something or some things that you do or did that made this person start thinking the way they think, start acting the way they act. But the whole purpose of all this is not a healthy relationship. This is not a get a love like mine relationship. You know, you want to. We can say we don't argue. People think, yeah. Well, anybody.
People say everybody argue.
Oh yeah, it's
we
normal.
We used to. We're not gonna act like we never have. We used to argue all the time, but we don't argue now.
Ever, like years past. If you can think in your own relationship, I haven't gone years without arguing with anybody I've ever dated. And that's not to talk down on you, but we want to shed light on the fact that it's possible that you don't argue. You don't have to. It's not written in the book. You know, every third day of the second month of the year, expect some arguing. Or, you know, when she's on that time of the month, she acts like, you know, it doesn't have to be that way. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times people accept, I don't know if status quo is a proper term for it, but people accept things because they see it on TV, mm-hmm. or even the people on TV argue, or celebrities argue, or athletes. Everyone, no, not everyone. And I'm saying you don't have to. You can live in harmony without it. You don't have to.
We always say this, you know, your spouse should be your best friend. And a lot of people, lately I've seen it, oh, I married my best friend. I married my best friend. You and your best friend probably never argue. Y'all probably don't have any expectations of each other that would make, you know, that you, to the point where you would be so disappointed if they did something wrong. So you and your best friends probably don't argue. I'm not saying they may not do stuff that gets on your nerves, but because they're your best friend, you can open up and say, girl, you get on my nerves when you do that, or stop doing that, or whatever. But in your marriage, you should be able to have that same line of communication. And that will prevent you from arguing. If you are mad, I think we talked about this once before about him leaving the toilet seat up. If you just explain to him why that bothers you, maybe he'll learn to not do it. But if you're talking to him like you're talking to one of the kids, he's not going to be receptive to what you have to say. But get a love like mine is kind of a play on words because, of course, we're using our marriage as an example because I feel like God has used us as, he's used so many people in the Bible. He might use a thief or a prostitute or whatever, some sort of sinner for his glory. So with us, with our love, yeah, we argued a lot. We used to break up every weekend. I mean, we started out really rocky, but we were best friends. We wanted to stay together. We prayed about our relationship. God has brought us out of all of that. So when we say get a love like mine, we don't just mean our relationship. We mean that's God telling you get a love like his. Because I feel like he loved us so much that he answered our prayers and has led us to this place where we don't argue, where we are examples to other couples. Because my brother used to say this before we had the podcast, everybody can't be Sam and Keisha. Well, yes, you can if you listen. So we thank you guys for listening. Remember, if you are dealing with somebody crazy, you have to cut
Don't get the blanket.
Don't get the blanket and put and cover up and start, following them all around town. But anyway, we're not going to do an Ask the Amoses this week. We did something new this week where we posted in our Instagram story, Ask Us Anything, and a few people sent us questions that we're going to do like a separate segment that we'll post during the week. And we'll just reserve these episodes for Sundays. However, if we get a big one like the one we had a couple of weeks ago where it'll take a long time, we may answer that. So if you have questions or you want advice and you want us to answer on the show, you can send us an email to getalovelikemindepodcast@gmail.com and put in the subject line Ask the Amoses. Or follow us on social media on Instagram. We're Get a Love Like Mine Podcast. Periodically, I'll post in the story, Ask Us Anything, and you can just ask us. Or if you just want to send us a DM to ask a question, feel free.
Yeah, Ask the Amoses is, get a lot of feedback. Mm-hmm. And sometimes folks don't. If there's a lot of people asking, they may not want to wait to find out which episode is going to get to answer their questions. So we decided we're going to kind of break Ask the Amoses off and just do it sporadically just to try to keep up with, some of the folks that are asking all these different things. So whether we do it on this segment or not, you can still send questions in. We may answer it on the show, or we may just do its own separate Ask the Amoses on another platform, but we will get back to you. So thanks for watching and keeping up with us.
Thanks, guys. Have a good day.